Welcome back to the deep dive.
Hello.
Today, we're really getting into it. We're looking at Genesis chapter 4 from the Bible. It's a pretty intense story, isn't it?
It definitely is. We're using insights from Bible and Me, Bible Demystified Genesis, and focusing really on that shift, that move from Eden into the, let's say, the wider world.
Right. And what we want to do in this deep dive is explore what this ancient text might tell us about, human nature itself. Things like anger, violence, even how civilization gets started.
And maybe find some nuances, some surprising bits in a story that many people think they already know pretty well.
Exactly. So Genesis 4 kicks off right after Adam and Eve leave Eden, and we meet Cain and Abel, the first kids born outside the garden.
Right. And Eve's statement when Cain is born is quite something. She says, "I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord, his name Cain." It sounds a lot like the Hebrew word kana,
Kana, meaning,
meaning something like to acquire or to produce, maybe even to control.
huh. So right from the start, there's this idea of making, maybe controlling. Does that foreshadow anything, you think?
It certainly sets a tone. And then you have Abel. His Hebrew name Hevel is what's almost the exact opposite.
Okay.
It means vapor or breath, something fleeting, temporary. It's the same word used all over Ecclesiastes. Vanity of vanities, all is Hevel, all is vapor.
Wow, okay. That contrast is stark, isn't it? Acquisition versus, well, thin air.
Pretty much. And they take up different jobs. Cain works the ground, a farmer. Abel looks after the flocks, a shepherd.
And then comes the moment with the offerings. They both bring something to God.
Yes. And this is a point people have debated for, well, centuries. God accepts Abel's offering, but not Cain's.
And the text itself,
Yeah.
it doesn't spell out why, does it? There's no divine scorecard saying shepherd good, farmer bad.
No, not explicitly.
Yeah.
Which leaves room for interpretation, of course.
So how do people usually try to understand why God preferred Abel's?
Well, a common thread, which you find hinted at elsewhere in the Bible, is that it's less about what was offered and more about the heart of the person offering it, the inner attitude, the intention.
Right. So maybe Abel's heart was in the right place and Cain's wasn't. Perhaps Cain was more focused on the thing itself, his accomplishment.
That's a strong possibility. And Cain's reaction when his offering isn't accepted, it's intense. The text says his face fell.
Yeah, you can just feel that disappointment, that anger, maybe even jealousy. It feels very, very human, very relatable even now, that sense of, hey, that's not fair.
Absolutely. And God addresses Cain directly in that moment of anger. He asks him point blank, "Why are you angry? Why has your face fallen?"
He doesn't just punish him, he engages him. He asks him to look inward.
Exactly. Like God is, "If you do well, will you not be accepted?" It's like an invitation to self-correct.
And then comes that really famous, really chilling line. God warns Cain, something like, sin is crouching at your door.
Right. Its desire is for you, but you must rule over it. Sin is pictured almost like a wild animal, predator waiting to pounce.
Oh, personified like that. It's not just a mistake you might make. It's an active force trying to get you.
And interestingly, this is the very first time the word sin actually appears in the Bible, right here.
The first mention. And it's presented as something to be mastered, to be ruled over.
Yes. But despite that warning, that chance to gain control, Cain doesn't.
No, the next verse is just devastatingly simple. Cain spoke to Abel, his brother, and then out in the field, he kills him.
It's so abrupt. No dialogue recorded there, no description of a fight, just the act. Bam.
It feels like the consequence of the fall, that break with God, is now playing out horrifically between humans. That anger, unchecked, just explodes.
It's the ultimate violation, isn't it? Not just breaking a rule, but destroying another person made in God's image, spilling innocent blood for the first time.
And God knows immediately. He comes to Cain with that question. Where is your brother?
Chilling. And Cain's answer, "Am I my brother's keeper?" It's defensive, evasive.
Almost sarcastic, maybe. But it hangs in the air, doesn't it? That question of responsibility.
It really does. And while Cain asks it rhetorically, trying to dodge responsibility, the rest of the Bible seems to answer with a clear yes. Yes, we are, in some sense, our brother's keeper.
So how does God respond to the murder and to Cain's deflection?
Well, it's not instant smiting. Instead, God says something profound. "Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground."
Blood crying out. What's that about?
It's this powerful idea that injustice, especially murder, leaves a mark. The blood itself acts like a witness. It even suggests the ground, the earth itself, is somehow involved, polluted by the violence.
So there are consequences. Cain is cursed.
Yes. The curse affects his livelihood, his connection to the ground, his farming is broken, and he's condemned to be a wanderer, restless.
But then Cain cries out, doesn't he? He says the punishment is too much. He's afraid he'll be killed.
He is. He expresses fear, and then God does something unexpected.
Which,
Mercy. God puts a mark on Cain. Not a mark of shame, necessarily, but a mark of protection, warning others not to kill him in revenge.
so even in judgment, there's this element of protection, grace.
Exactly. It's a really complex moment. Judgment and mercy intertwined.
Okay, so Cain is exiled. He goes east of Eden, away from God's presence, to the land of Nod.
And Nod, fittingly, means wandering. His location reflects his sentence.
But then, this always strikes me as strange, this wandering murderer, he builds a city, the first city mentioned in the Bible.
It is strange, isn't it? Civilization, organized community living, starts here, outside Eden, founded by someone marked by violence and exile.
What does that suggest? That civilization itself is somehow flawed from the start? Or maybe that creativity can still happen even in brokenness?
Maybe both. It definitely suggests that human society, our attempts to build and organize, carries those seeds of both potential and corruption right from the beginning. It's not automatically pure just because it's civilized.
And his descendants carry that forward, don't they? We see skills develop: metalworking, music, animal husbandry.
Right. Human ingenuity is definitely there. They're creating culture.
But the violence continues,
Yeah.
and even escalates. You get Lamech bragging about killing someone and promising vastly disproportionate revenge.
Exactly. It's like the violence spirals. Cultural progress happens alongside moral decay, or at least alongside this continuing thread of violence and pride. That's the line of Cain, in broad strokes.
But that's not the end of the chapter or the story. Adam and Eve have another son.
Yes, Seth. And his name means appointed or granted. Eve sees him as appointed by God to replace Abel.
So a sense of hope, a new beginning, a different path.
That seems to be the implication. This lineage, the line of Seth, offers a contrast to the trajectory of Cain's line.
And how does the chapter wrap up? What's the final note?
It's a really significant statement. It says, "At that time, people began to call upon the name of the Lord."
So alongside the violence and the wandering and the city building, there's also the beginning of worship, of people actively seeking God.
Precisely. Even in exile, even after the tragedy, this turning towards God emerges. It sets up a crucial contrast for the rest of Genesis.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive into Genesis 4, what are the big things we've hit on?
Well, clearly the immediate fallout of sin, envy, anger turning into murder. We see exile, not just physical, but spiritual separation. And, surprisingly, the birth of civilization mixed up with all that darkness.
But also, maybe crucially, the idea that God doesn't just abandon humanity outside the garden. He's still there, engaging, warning.
Judging, yes, but also showing mercy, protecting, and significantly being available to those who call on him.
It really lays bare some fundamental aspects of the human story, doesn't it? That constant tension between our capacity for good and creativity and our potential for terrible violence and selfishness.
Absolutely. These themes from Genesis 4, they don't just stay back there in the ancient texts. You see them playing out again and again throughout history and, frankly, in our own lives.
Which brings us to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. How do these ancient tensions, creation versus destruction, responsibility versus deflection, wandering versus worship, how do they echo in our world today?
And maybe revisiting Cain's question. In the 21st century, what does it actually mean for us, for you, to be your brother's or your sister's keeper? Something to think about.